we are not worshiping Satan and eating babies. There are people out there who honestly believe Democrats or pagans are literally eating babies. I have heard this with my own ears. The person saying this is someone I consider to be relatively intelligent. So when they started spewing this, I'm just going, what are you smoking and when do I get some? Welcome back to the podcast. I am Di, your favorite yoga witch, and today we are talking about free speech and its absolute significance for pagans and those who follow non-Christian religions and have hobbies such as yoga, because yoga is so often identified with Hinduism or Buddhism. So, today we are going to be delving deeply into this topic, or at least as deeply as I can in the short time I have you. So, why is free speech so important for the pagan community? Well, free speech and freedom of religion, which is also guaranteed by the First Amendment, same amendment that guarantees us free speech. It is very important to us because it gives us the ability to share our beliefs, share information with other people. It aids in combating discrimination against us, as a method of gaining community and combating discrimination. It gives us a way to basically prove that we're not worshiping Satan and eating babies, okay? It also aids us in preserving our traditions. You have these pagans who will say, well, my family's line of witches goes back umpteen dozen generations. We only know that because our families were able to, write down and communicate their beliefs and their rituals and their traditions. I was talking about this, honestly, in a comment on Facebook to a fellow spoonie. I know, trust me, it's relevant. Let me bring up that comment because it really, really, I don't think I can communicate it quite as well. Let's see. Nope. Right person, wrong status. Oh no. Wrong person altogether. So what I was basically saying, and I'll babble at you while I bring up this comment. I was telling a friend of my friend that I am so grateful for the internet and my Spoonie community, because conditions that were once thought to be extremely rare, we are now finding are not that rare, and what pisses me off there, honestly, is most of the conditions that we are learning weren't so rare are those that affect women predominantly, which sucks. Big fat hairy donkey balls. Okay, I found the comment. Okay. one of the biggest things I absolutely love about the spooning community and, the internet in general is the ability to share useful information. You know, um, because prior to this, we were stuck with in-person conversations. And for those of us who were unable to leave the house easily, we had no real decent method of communicating with others like us. This goes hand in hand with the pagan community because, again, we had to hide in the open basically, unable to really communicate our beliefs and find like minded individuals. Now, for those, especially in certain Wiccan traditions, those traditions require initiation. And if you don't happen to have a Gardnerian or a Dianic coven in your local community, you are SOL. So, freedom of speech and freedom of religion, I'm going to talk about them both because they are the same amendment. Freedom of speech and freedom of religion gave us the ability to practice in the open. And even with that, we pagans are still punished for not being Christian. I have found stories all over the internet that are verifiable of pagan parents who have dealt with child protective services and lost their children because they weren't Christian. There are pagans who have been fired from their jobs because they either said that someone wearing a cross made them slightly uncomfortable, or they made the fatal mistake of wearing a pentacle necklace or earrings to work. And people discovered, they're not Christian. We are persecuted for not being mainstream. Now, some challenges that we face when exercising our right to free speech. Well, as I just said, we have the right to free speech and freedom of religion, but go back to that pagan who was fired from their job for wearing a pentacle. That is an exercise of their own free speech and freedom of religion. However, they still lost their job simply for exercising their speech, their right. This is technically constitutionally unconstitutional. That's the word I'm looking for. But, who cares, right? Pisses me off. We have also the need for some cultural sensitivity. That goes both ways, honestly. I know a number of pagans who will demand, sensitivity for their being pagan and respect for that. But then they turn around and trash talk Christianity and sects of the Christian faith, which, yeah. And then there is the need to balance individual and community needs. If you live in a town, we'll take the one I graduated high school in, predominantly Mexican, so Catholic, or Russian, Orthodox. And if you were neither of those, you were very much in the minority. And, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can think of at least 7 churches in one small town. So, being non-Christian, we were definitely in the minority. So we have that balance of my need to express myself freely and my community's need for respect of their beliefs as well. It is a thing. Shit. I had something that I wanted to See, I need to start putting my notes in my script as well. um, these are some very important considerations. The absolute need for respectful dialogue on both sides. Um, as a pagan woman, I cannot expect my Christian compatriots to treat me with respect if I refuse to treat their religion with respect, right? So how can pagans actively protect and promote free speech? Well, first of all, and there are a lot of people who are going to be pissed off at me for saying this, but get involved politically. We need to make sure that we are out there supporting the political candidates who are, I don't want to use the word supportive, but it's the only word coming to mind, that we need to be out there supporting the candidates who are supportive of our right to free speech and freedom of religion. We need those candidates who are not out there saying that any news media that disagrees with them is fake news, etc. Then other advocacy, I'm going to mention the Church of the Satanic Temple. The Satanic Temple is out there, basically doing exactly this, advocating for free speech and freedom of religion. They regularly take on local governments for forcing Christianity down our throats, etc., etc. Education is big. We need to be out there making sure that, again, we are educating people that we are not worshiping Satan and eating babies. There are people out there who honestly believe that Democrats or pagans, which in their mind are the same thing, I guess, are literally eating babies. I have heard this with my own ears. I was speechless. Even remembering it, I just, the person saying this is someone I considered to be relatively intelligent. So when they started spewing this, I'm just going, what are you smoking and when do I get some? And then we need to build community. Now, this does not mean necessarily simply building a community of only other pagans. There are a lot of non pagans out there who will accept and support us. Big one in my life was my grandfather. The man was an Episcopal priest, okay? But when I came to him saying I wanted to leave the church and put my feet on a pagan path, he's like, go for it. So there are Christians out there who will accept us. There are actually Christian witches out there. So, this is just, I know I'm rambly and not my normal self today, and I apologize for that. I am a service-connected disabled veteran. I straight up put my life on the line. I put my money where my mouth is. And actually, signed up to defend our rights. Gave up my quality of life for that. I'm sitting at 80% service connected. Yeah. So this is something that I do feel very passionately and very strongly about, which is part of why I'm rambling a bit. I apologize again. Um, we, this country was founded for the rights of free speech and freedom of religion. That is why those are the first amendment to our Constitution. You know? Oh, my nose, I've got fur. The founding fathers left England because, well, they wanted the opportunity to shit talk the king and worship as they saw fit. And we have people running for office today who want to take those rights away from us. They want to remove the right to freedom of speech and be able to jail people who talk, who say things about this particular candidate. And I'm sure everyone knows who I'm talking about, but I'm not naming names. They want to be able to prosecute media personnel who say things about this particular candidate that they feel the candidate feels is inaccurate. Never mind the fact that it's true and verifiably true and able to be backed up via multiple sources. They also want to turn our country into a Christian nationalist nation where the default setting for everyone, and if you do not fit into the default, you are a criminal, is cisgender, heterosexual, white Christian. Let that sink in for a minute. There are people in office right now and running for office who want to be able to jail those who are not cis, het, white, and to an extent male. They keep us women around because without women, you know, we can't procreate and women belong in the kitchen and cleaning house. We won't get into the women's rights that these people want to remove. It's another rant altogether. So do everyone a favor. I don't care what religion you are. I don't care what political party you are. Get out there and fight to retain our rights, you know? Get out there and knock on doors and canvass for the political candidates that are trying to save these for us. Do phone banking, stuff letters, you know, stuff envelopes. Do the things that need to be done to prevent those who want to take our rights away from us getting into office. That right now is the number one most important thing we can be doing. After that, if you are not a pagan, I'm trying to figure out how to say this without objectifying myself. If you are not pagan, you're Christian or whatever, Christian, Jewish, Mormon, whatever, step out of your community of, you know, like-minded religious people and get to know those who have a different belief system than you. Because that is the way that we undemonize. I'm trying to come up with the words here and they're not working. But that is how we undemonize the people that don't share our religious beliefs. By getting to know them, by making them people. Because so long as you can just have this imaginary version of a pagan in your head because you don't actually know any of them, you can turn that mythological person character in your head into whatever you want. But once you meet someone and get to know someone with those beliefs and realize, we really are more alike than we are different, it's not going to change. And that right there, the getting to know others who are not like you, whether it be the color of their skin, the church they attend, the career they have. We demonize so many things. Lawyers. I mean, how many of us grew up with the lawyers are sharks, right? So we automatically demonize lawyers. Non-Christians. We've covered that. News people. We tend to demonize them these days, especially if whatever news outlet they work for does not report the news that we feel they should. So and then people with a different skin color, a different culture. Get to know them. I remember one of the things I wanted to mention when it comes to free speech and freedom of religion. Native Americans. Let me look it up. Oh, when did Native Americans, gain the right to practice their religion? Now, mind you, I'm going to remind you, we were given the freedom of religion in our Constitution. So it has literally been there from day one. Native Americans gained the right to freely practice their religion with the passage of the American Indian Religious Freedom Act the year I was born. I was born in 1978. And prior to that, Native Americans were thrown in jail for practicing their own traditions and religions that predate our freaking country. Sorry. That's another very hot topic for me. So get out there, get to know people. Do not insulate yourself, in your little cubby where everybody else in the world is literally them and you are us, Be respectful and open-minded when talking about other things. Make sure that you are okay with other people exercising their right to free speech. And also, and I'm going to quote Trace Adkins here. Freedom of speech protects you from the government, not me. Freedom of speech means that you cannot be jailed for criticizing the government, criticizing a political candidate, or campaigning against a proposition on the ballot. These are all things that, prior to our freedom of speech happened to people. People were jailed all the time in England for criticizing the king. So, The government, the government cannot punish you for speaking. However, that doesn't mean your neighbor can't. If you say something that is incredibly offensive to your neighbor and your neighbor punches you in the face for it, you can't scream freedom of speech. If you're on Facebook and someone calls you out for being ableist or racist or discriminatory in some form, you cannot scream, well, I have freedom of speech. Yeah, you do. But that does not protect you from the repercussions of that speech. So be mindful of that. So yeah, and as I'm being reminded, you also, if you're the one saying, yeah, freedom of speech, I can say what I want. Hey, dumbass. That means other people can too, They have the same rights and freedoms you do. So when someone calls your political candidate an idiot and a jerk and a homophobe and a predator and a racist, you cannot scream that what they are saying is offensive and they need to be censored for it. And that, my darlings, is our podcast for this week. I need to stop because I will rant about this for hours and it will become rather incoherent rather quickly. So please, if you want to listen to me rant and rave more about things like this, please hit the like and subscribe button. Share this if you feel I've said something worth sharing. Hit the bell if you want to know when I'm back online. And then if you want to see more of me, I have a Patreon that you can hop over to. I give behind the scenes pictures and videos of me getting ready to do the podcast or the blog or whatever. I have exclusive, the word keeps popping out of my mind. I have exclusive blog posts that I share with my Patreon. And then if you're interested in yoga and want to do a one-on-one yoga session with me, I promise we will not rant about, rights and responsibilities during it, unless you want to. Hop over to my website, which is yogawithdylin.com, to book a one-on-one yoga session or get a 3-card tarot reading or maybe even a pendulum reading. Those are fun. Otherwise, let's see. Oops. Sorry, I keep turning away from the mic, forgetting that I have to talk to the mic. I'm weird. Let's see what else. We have the Patreon. We have the website. Find me on social media. I'm on most of the socials with either Yoga with Dylin or Die the Yoga Witch. Pick your poison. And I do hope you will follow me and have fun interacting with me because, I could be kind of a fun person. Goofy, wacky, very ADHD. Yep. Otherwise, my loves, come back tomorrow. It is only Thursday. Wow, brain. Come back tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. I live in Seattle-ish for my daily draw where I do 3 tarot cards, 3 oracle cards, a rune, a goddess, and a couple of other fun things. I do that Monday through Friday, and then tomorrow night, 8:00 p.m. Pacific time, again, I'm in Seattle, I will be leading a guided meditation on confidence in speech. I believe, let me confirm that. Yep, courageous confidence. No, mindfulness of speech. Wow, I was looking at last week. I can read. So we are meditating on mindfulness of our speech because that goes along with free speech, but not being incredibly offensive with that speech. So that is my Friday night. Next week is Halloween for the non pagans. For we pagans, it is Samhain. And we will be talking about the history of Halloween, how it has been warped and twisted from its original intent. And then the first week of November, we will be discussing free speech and freedom of religion again. Excuse me. So do come back and join me. Otherwise, I will see you fantabulous, magical, wonderful people later. I love you very much. Spread love, spread joy and kindness. There is far, far too much hate and discontent in this world for me to be comfortable encouraging people to contribute. And with that, my friends, I will bid you a fond farewell for tonight.